a NoMoreStinkyMonkeys.com production. This is the 20th annual Top 10 movie list from the Freditor. And this is for the year 2018. It's no 2015, but 2018 had many great movies to consider. In fact, I had to go through a list of 34 just to come up with my top 10. And here we start again with the honorable mentions. If Beale Street Could Talk. In a year of exceptional black cinema, this was one of the best. It tells the story of a young man who gets arrested for a crime he didn't commit and his pregnant girlfriend who tries desperately to get him out of it. But the story jumps back and forth between the current predicament and how their love grew. It is so moving and honest without being preachy. Black KKK Klansman. Spike Lee's best movie since 25 Hours. It has many stellar attributes, but comes off as a little clumsy and amateurish at times. The man who made the incredible Malcolm X 25 years ago should be more polished by now. But what saves it are some hard-hitting views of race relations in this country that no mainstream movie tackles before. The scene of Harry Belafonte discussing what happened to a Down syndrome black man 100 years ago is really eye-opening for a modern audience. I heard the gasps from the younger crowd. Crazy Rich Asians. I generally don't like movies about the opulent rich, but this movie about the super rich Chinese has such awe-inspiring visuals that the beauty of the sets and locations becomes a character in its own right. The wedding scene alone is one of the prettiest I've ever seen. The story is generic rom-com stuff, but the Chinese subtext gives it a new vision. Won't You Be My Neighbor? I grew up loving Mr. Rogers, and after this wonderful documentary on his life and work, you will gain a whole new appreciation for the man. I would gladly have him be my neighbor. Peter Rabbit. James Corden is fantastic as the title rabbit, who causes a lot of mischief in a neighbor's garden. Live action with talking animals this is one of the funniest films of its kind. And the humans are not stupid, but interesting, fleshed-out characters. Free Solo, a breathtaking documentary about a rock climber who climbed up a wall 13 city streets high without ropes and not much to hold on to. The fact that the people filming the movie were risking their lives climbing and holding cameras on him gives you added appreciation for the movie. Roma. Growing up middle class in Mexico in the early 70s was the life of the director of this film, the Gravity Oscar winner, Alfonso Cuarón. This story doesn't concentrate on him as a little boy or even his parents, but his housekeeper nanny who really raised him. Her name was Cleo. A beautiful tribute to a simple woman. He gets inside her emotional life, which was hidden from him as a child. He even hired an actress from his nanny's hometown to gain extra realism. That woman ended up getting nominated for Best Actress. First Man. The super serious telling of the Neil Armstrong story from his entry in the astronaut program in the late 50s to his eventual first steps on the moon in 1969. A warts-and-all portrayal of the emotional life of a man and his wife who's risking his life for his country and science. And it gives you a whole new appreciation for the job they did. Not a rah-rah, right stuff kind of film. Leave No Trace. This tribute to freedom shows how people who want to live by their own rules without hurting anybody can still run afoul of the law. Ben Foster is great again as the war veteran father, and Thomasine McKenzie is very good as his 13-year-old daughter, who loves him enough to continue living off the grid. A Simple Favor. They just don't make fun whodunits in the Hitchcockian murder mystery fold anymore. Here is a great one starring Anna Kendrick as a happy homemaker and Blake Lively as a sexy and alluring super bitch. All right, number 10, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Just as much fun and just as funny as the original, the story of a Peter Pan-ish superhero who is supposed to be under house arrest gets some new juice. The final scene came out of left field and put this movie in my top 10. Anytime you can get a modern-day audience to gasp is noteworthy. The Mule, number 9. Clint Eastwood's best acting and his best movie in 25 years. A fun story about a 90-year-old man who runs cocaine for the Mexican cartels up from Texas to Michigan, but it's fun along the way. Clint loves singing Sinatra and eating ice cream sandwiches in the car rides. Number 8, A Star is Born. By far the best first half of a movie all year. But the moment Lady Gaga goes into her Britney Spears impression, the movie goes off the rails. Very disappointing. Number 7, A Quiet Place. Jim from The Office and young Queen Victoria have to be deadly quiet as they and their family live near some murderous creatures that only can hear. So incredibly intense. Writer-director John Krasinski does an amazing job both in front and behind the camera. Number 6, Three Identical Strangers. In a year of unusually good documentaries comes the best. The story of three identical triplets who were separated at birth by an adoption agency and only discovered each other when they were 19 years old. Wonderful story that might have made a great sitcom, but turns out to have a very dark subtext. The reaction of the perpetrators is even more evil. Number 5, Avengers Infinity War. Josh Brolin has had two magnificent performances this year as comic book characters. First in Deadpool 2, and then as Thanos in this latest Avengers film. The movie was incredible, a juggling act with several dozen characters and 4 intertwining storylines. Yet somehow the filmmakers let every character get a chance to shine, and each story is skillfully told with a chance to breathe. But Thanos is a deeper villain than we are used to in these films. Is he a bad guy or just pragmatic? My biggest complaint with comic book movies over, say, Star Wars is that in Star Wars, characters can and do die. There is something at risk, but in a comic book movie, it feels like no one can ever truly die, so the fight scenes get monotonous. This movie changes that thinking. Number 4, 8th Grade. Second best film of the summer, probably the most honest portrayal of school life I've ever seen. A girl in the last days of 8th grade deals with her own insecurities and loneliness, with a loving father but no mother. The kind of movie where every good feeling is earned, where small problems make you wince like watching someone getting a paper cut, because you know exactly how that feels. It's wonderfully told. Number 3, Green Book. I know I am biased, and I've said dozens of times before, my good friend Nick Vallelonga's cousin wrote this movie about his father. Even though I have never met the cousin, I feel like he is almost family since I've been friends with Nick for so long. But attempting to put all bias aside, this is definitely one of the most entertaining and insightful films of the year. A real-life story where a politically minded black man and a bigoted Italian man from the Bronx can become friends gives us all hope for a better tomorrow. Funny with well-deserved deeper emotions. Number 2, Black Panther. The best movie overall and one of the greatest achievements in black cinema ever. Groundbreaking doesn't begin to explain its worldview, more like earth-shattering. I was shocked to learn that Stan Lee created this character and the world within his Marvel universe. It's so forward-thinking. An African nation that is totally dependent on itself, that is financially sound, and even more importantly, is inhabited by people that are proud of themselves and their achievements. A science-based society filled with mathematicians and other kinds of thinkers. Yes, the action scenes are a little less exciting than we are used to in a Marvel movie, but the good far outweighs the ordinary in this film. The filmmakers don't stand on the backs of the black artists who came before them, but rather on their shoulders as they bring us a whole new level of consciousness. Wakanda forever. And finally, number 1, Mission Impossible Fallout. My list doesn't include just Oscar bait, but the movies that made me want to go back to the movies every week. The movies that make me actually want to sit in a theater rather than just wait for them to come on demand at home. The Mission Impossible Fallout is that kind of movie. Amazingly, the 6th movie in the series and the absolute best. Tom Cruise is 57 years old and famously does a lot of his own stunts. Driving a motorcycle 100 miles an hour through Paris without a helmet is just one of the many stunts. The set pieces in this film get crazier and crazier and more fun. The storyline was great, the writing was strong, and the actors were all having fun. I think it's the only movie I saw twice in the theater all year. Incredible from beginning to end, a popcorn movie that should have gotten a Best Picture nomination. Every once in a while I have to remind myself that I'm lucky to live in a time in history where I get to enjoy a movie like this. So enjoy the Oscars tonight from the Freditor.